Mark, in your book you tell a number of stories about your friends in India, and you talk about how you're really impressed with their low carbon footprint. What are some of the things that you've learnt from your friends in India?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, Penny, that when people go overseas to work, in our case going to India, often the mentality is we're going to give and to teach and that kind of thing. But one of the things we've found over the years is that we've learnt a lot ourselves from our poor friends and neighbours. And it is a striking thing that our friends and neighbours have very, very low carbon footprints. But interestingly, they're not thinking that way. They're not living that way because of the carbon footprint. They're just living that way because that's all they have, so they don't have a car, they can't drive, they don't have the money to fly, they don't have the money to eat meat very often. But one of the things that we've learnt from our friends, I guess, in India, is that happiness is not really so much about the things you own. And that's one of the things we've found as we've come back to Australia, is this very strong message from advertising. If you buy this thing, this phone, this car, this whatever, you'll be happy. And I think we've learnt from our friends in India that's actually not true. Happiness is more about your friendships and your family and your experiences of life and enjoying nature and so forth than it is about things.
So Mark, related to that, I really liked the story around what you chose to do around your 50th birthday. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I'm 51 now. When I was writing the book, I turned 50. And I suppose a lot of us, when we get to that kind of age, we want to feel a bit younger and not feel so old, despite the grey and the beard and so forth. So I was looking for another activity that I could do to help me feel a bit younger. And I suppose as you look around, there's lots of activities that are offered to you. You could get a jet ski or go parachuting or whatever. A lot of those activities are very high carbon intensive activities. So then, in the end, I settled on learning to surf. And so I was just got a board and went out and taught myself how to surf. And I love it. I love sitting out there in the ocean and just wondering at the power of the ocean and the beauty of the ocean. And it's very quiet and peaceful. And the rush when you get a wave and you can actually, catch a wave. So for me, that was a lovely thing to do for my 50th. And a beautiful low-carbon way to have a good time.
Now, Tom, what's next for you after this book launches?
So, ironically enough, I'm hopping on a plane and going back to India, but hopefully for a substantial period of time, so maybe 1 or possibly 2 years. And when back there, my work is to teach kids, so child labourers and also kids who are in school but not learning very well, teach them Hindi literacy. So Hindi is my second language, but I'm pretty fluent at it. But sadly, many kids, even though Hindi is their mother tongue, they aren't able to read and write their own language. And that's for a range of reasons, but many kids have dropped out of school in our neighbourhood and are working to support their families, but it's really important for them to be able to get at least some basic education to have more opportunities later in life. So I'm really looking forward to going back to that work, and I'm sure I'll learn a lot from the kids as well.
And Mark, what's next for you?
Yes, so the book launches on the 16th of February here in Brisbane. And then just a couple of days later, as Tom was saying, Tom and my wife Kath are going back to India. And then we'll be apart for 6 weeks. So I'm going to stay in Australia for 6 weeks along with our younger son, Tom's younger brother Oscar. He's going to finish out first term at school, and I'm going to go down to Sydney and Melbourne to do a couple more book launch type things down there to see if we can generate some interest about this book in those places.
And how are you travelling down to Sydney and Melbourne, Mark?
Well, it's a good question, Penny. But, I'm happy to say that I'm taking the train. So I've realised that there's actually pretty reasonable train service from Brisbane down to Sydney, and then I'll do some things there, then another train down to Melbourne, and then I'll do it all on the way back. So yeah, I'm not flying, I'm taking the train.